Hello everyone. I'm just going to give the answers out to the Edpuzzle questions. I did see a few mistakes, so I just want to make sure we get those clarified before we jump into our quiz that is due on Friday. So this was one of the questions. It was, what is the volume of a hemisphere with radius of 12? So looking at a hemisphere, we've got a radius of 12. So from the inside to the edge is 12. Let's go ahead and put in our formula. Volume is 4/3 pi r cubed, and that whole thing is going to get divided by 2. So plugging in our radius of 12, and that whole thing is going to get divided by 2. So using your calculator, and I'm finding that everyone, people are getting different answers, rounding, by using 3.14 instead of pi. So whatever your calculator has, obviously on like a test with your calculator online, it might be a little different. So I'm going to multiply 12 times 12 times 12. 12 times 12 times 12. That's what 12 cubed means. So rewriting that, we get 4/3 pi times 1728, and that whole thing is going to be divided by 2. Remember, 4/3 is 4 times all of this divided by 3. So 4 times pi times 1728. That gives us 21714.7, and that whole thing is divided by 3, and that whole thing will be divided by 2. So if you're getting some, I don't know where, I'm seeing a lot of the same mistake, but I can't see your work. So I'm not quite sure how some of you are getting some of the answers you are. I think for some of you it was just a matter of dividing that number by 2. 7238.2, and I'm going to divide that number by 2. So you should have gotten 3619.1. Some of you might have rounded a little differently. 3617, I gave you credit. Basically, this is what you should see though, if you used pi. If you use 3.14, you might have gotten something different. Okay, so there's the work for the hemisphere. Let's go ahead and do the volume of a sphere now. So this was from the Edpuzzle dealing with spheres. The diameter was 16. If a diameter is given, remember that means our radius equals 8. It's going to be half of 16. So drawing out our sphere, we have a radius of 8. That means from the center to the edge is 8. Plugging it into our formula, 4/3 pi times radius cubed, rewriting that with r as 8. 4/3 pi times 8 cubed. Using our calculator, this means 8 times 8 times 8, which gives us 512. 4/3 times pi times 512. Remember what a fraction is? A fraction means we're multiplying by 4 and then dividing by 3. So I'm going to do 4 times pi times 512, and that gives me 6,433.98, and that whole thing gets divided by 3. And when I divide it by 3, I get 2,144.7. So that was the answer to the Edpuzzle questions. And then our last question I'm going to go over was the one from your notes on Monday. They gave you a composite figure. This is made up of a hemisphere plus a volume of a cylinder plus the volume of another hemisphere. So you had to solve for 3 pieces. Some of you might have seen, a hemisphere and a hemisphere make one sphere. You could have done it that way. But if you're taking a figure into pieces, this is what you would have done. So we're going to use our formula. I'm going to take it in pieces because that's how I think a lot of you did it. Let's find the volume of that first hemisphere. So we're going to take 4/3 pi r cubed, divide it by 2, and our radius was 2. 4/3 pi times 2 cubed, that whole thing divided by 2. I'm not going to do every single step because we did it on the last one. 2 cubed is 8. So that gave me 100.5 divided by 3 divided by 2. And we find out that first hemisphere had a volume of 16.8. And since these hemispheres are the same, I know that this one is also 16.8. Now let's find the volume of that cylinder. A cylinder its formula is pi r squared times the height. So we've got pi, our radius is 2, we're going to square that, and we multiply it by the height of 8. 2 squared is 4. So we do pi times 4 times 8, and you got 100.5. So putting that back over here, 100.5, I'm going to add all those 3 together. And you should have gotten a total volume, 134.1. If your calculator rounded a little differently, that's okay. But 134.1 should have been your final answer. Okay, once you're done copying this down, go ahead and start your quiz. And you're done for this chapter. This is the last assignment for spring break. Yay!